powers to these designs, if Jove had not our drifts approved, which, since we see he did for blood, 'tis desperate fight in us to strive with him. Then let us fly, 'tis flight he urgeth thus. Long time still silence held them all. At last did Diomed rise. Atrides, I am first must cross thy indiscreet advice, as may become me, being a king in this our martial court. Be not displeased then, for thyself displeased then, for thyself displeased then, for thyself pleased then. Displeased then. Be not displeased then, for thyself displeased then, for thyself didst broadly pleased then, for thyself didst broadly pleased then, for thyself didst broadly misreport in open field my fortitude, and called me faint and weak. Yet I was silent, knowing the time, loth time, I was silent, knowing the time, loath any rights to break that appertained thy public rule. Yet all the Greeks knew well, of every age thou didst me wrong, as thou didst me wrong, as thou then didst repel my as thou didst me wrong, as thou then didst repel me wrong, as thou then didst repel my valor first of all the host, as of a man dismayed, so now, with fit occasion given, I first blame thee afraid. Inconstant Saturn's son hath given inconstant spirits to thee, and with a scepter over all an eminent degree. But with a scepter's sovereign grace, the chief power, fortitude, to bridle thee, he thought fortitude, to bridle, fortitude, to power, fortitude, to bridle thee, he thought not best thy breast should be endued. Unhappy king, thought best thy breast should be endued. Unhappy king, think'st thou the Greeks are such a silly sort, and so excessive impotent as thy weak words import? If thy mind move thee to be gone, the way is open. Go, Mycenaean ships, the rest of Greece ride near. Go, Mycenaean ships enow ride near, that brought thee to this woe. The rest of Greece will stay, nor stir till Troy be overcome with full aversion. Or, if not, but doters of their home will put on wings to fly with thee, myself and Sthenelus will fight, till, trusting favoring Jove, we bring home. Till, trusting favoring Jove, we bring home Troy with us. Favoring Jove, we bring home Troy with us. This all applauded. We bring home Troy. Favoring Jove, we bring Jove. Favoring Jove, we bring home Troy with us. We bring home Troy with us. This all applauded and admired the spirit of Diomed, when Nestor, rising from the rest, his speech thus seconded. Tydides, Nestor, rising from the rest, his speech thus seconded. From the rest, his speech thus seconded. Tydides, thou art questionless our strongest Greek in war, and gravest in thy counsels too, of all that equal are in place with thee, and stand on strength. Nor is there any one can blame or contradict thy speech. And yet thou hast not gone so far, but we must further go. Thou art young, and well mightst be my youngest son, though still I yield thy words had high degree of wisdom in them to our king, since well they did become their right in question. And refute. Since well they did become their right in question. And king, since well they did become their right in question, and refute inglorious going in question, and refute inglorious going home. But I, well known thy senior far, will speak and handle all yet to propose, which none shall check. No, not our general, a hater of society, our general. Not our general, a hater of society, unjust and wild is he, that loves intestine war, being stuffed with manless cruelty. And therefore, in persuading peace and home flight, we the less may blame our general, as one loth to wrap in more distress his loved soldiers. But because they bravely are resolved to cast their lives, bravely are resolved to cast their lives after toils, before they part in shame involved, provide we for our honored stay. Oblay an honored stay. Obey, black night, and fall now to our suppers. Then anoint our guards without the wall, and in the bottom of the dike, bottom of the dike, which guards I wish may stand, which guards I wish may and in the bottom of the dike, which guards I wish may stand of our brave youth. And, Atreus' son, since thou art in command before our other king, and, Atreus' brave youth, and, Atreus' son, since thou art in command, before our other kings, be first in thy command's effect. It well becomes thee, since 'tis both what all thy peers expect. Since 'tis both what all thy peers expect. And since 'tis both what all thy peers expect. What all both what all thy peers expect. And in the royal right of things is no impair to thee, nor shall it stand with less than right that they invited be to supper by thee. All thy tents are amply stored with wine, brought daily in Greek ships from Thrace, brought daily wine brought daily in Greek ships from Thrace, and to this grace of thine all necessaries thou hast fit, and store of men to wait. And many meeting there thou mayest hear every man's conceit, and take the best. And many meeting there you mayst hear, and many meeting there thou mayest hear every and store of men to wait. And many meeting there you mayst hear every man's conceit, and take the best. It much concerns all Greeks to use advice of gravest nature, since so near are the best. It much concerns all Greeks to use advice of all Greeks to use advice all Greeks to use advice of gravest nature, since so near our ships our enemies have lighted such a sort of fires, lighted such a sort of fires with which what man is joyed. Look how all bear themselves this night, so live or be destroyed. Look how what man is joyed. Look how all bear themselves this night. Look how man is joyed. Look how all bear themselves this night, so live or be destroyed. All heard, and followed. Destroyed. All heard and followed his advice. There was appointed then 7 captains of the watch, who forth did march with all their men. Of the watch, who forth did march with all their men. The first was famous Thrasymed, and Ialmen, Ascalaphus, and the first with all their men. The first was famous Thrasymed, and mighty Merion, his 7 bold lords, and Ascalaphus and Ialmen, Ascalaphus and Ialmen, Ascalaphus and Ialmen, or son, Ascalaphus and mighty Merion, and Ialmen, and mighty Ascalaphus and Ialmen, Ascalaphus Ascalaphus and Ialmen, and mighty Merion, Ialmen, and mighty Merion, and Ialmen, and mighty Merion, Alphareus and Diaparis, and mighty Merion, Alphareus and There was appointed then, all heard, and followed his advice. There was appointed then the watch, who forth did march with all their men. With all their 7 captains of the watch, who forth did march with all their men. Did march with all their men. The first was with all their men. The first was famous Thrasymed, adviseful Nestor's son, Ascalaphus and Ialmen, and mighty Merion, Ascalaphus, son, Ascalaphus and Nestor's son, Ascalaphus and Ialmen, and mighty Merion, Alphareus, and mighty Merion, Alphareus and Diaparis, and lovely Lycomed, These 7 old Creon's joy. Lycomed, old Creon's joy. These 7 bold lords and 100 soldiers led in these 7 bold lords and 100 soldiers led in every 100 soldiers led, and every man his pike, some placed on the rampire in every severed company, and every 100 soldiers led, in every severed company, and every man his pike, some placed on the rampire's top his pike, some placed every man his pike, some placed on the rampire's top, and some amidst the dike. All fires made, their suppers took. Atrides took. Their suppers took. Atrides to his tent, all fires made. All fires made, their suppers took. Atrides to his tent invited all the peers of Greece, and food sufficient opposed before them, and food sufficient opposed before them, sufficient opposed before them, and the peers opposed their hands to it. Hunger and thirst being quickly opposed their hands to it. Hunger and thirst being quickly quenched, to council still they sit. And first spake Nestor, who they thought of late advised so well, a father grave and rightly wise, did tell. A father grave, Nestor, who they thought of late advised so well, a father grave and rightly wise, a father grave and rightly wise, who thus his tale did tell. Wise, who thus his tale did tell. Tell. Most high Atreides, since in thee I have intent to end, from thee will I begin my speech, to whom will begin my to whom Jove doth my speech, to whom Jove my speech, to whom Jove doth commend the empire of so many men, and puts into thy hand a scepter, and puts into thy hand a scepter and established laws, that thou mayst well command, and hand a scepter and established laws, command and counsel, that thou mayst well command and counsel all men under thee. It therefore doth behove and yet to hear. It therefore doth behove thyself to speak most, since of thyself to speak most, to speak of thyself to speak most, since of all thy behove thyself to speak most, since of all thy speeches most will move, and yet to hear as well as speak, and then perform as well a free just counsel, in thee still must stick, in thee still must tell. From me in thee still counsel, in thee still must stick what others tell. From me, what in my judgment stands the most convenient, I will advise, and am assured advice more competent shall not be given. The general proof that hath before been made of what I speak confirms me still, and now may well persuade, because I could not then, yet ought, when thou, most royal king, even from the tent Achilles' love, even from didst violently bring, even from the tent Achilles' love didst violently bring. Didst violently bring against my counsel, love didst violently bring against my counsel, violently bring didst violently bring. His love didst violently bring against my counsel, urging thee by all means to relent. But you, obeying your high mind, would venture the event, dishonoring our ablest Greek, a man the immortals' grace, ablest Greek, a man the immortals' grace, Greek, a man the immortals' grace, bring his force again, our ablest bring our dishonoring, venture the event, dishonoring our able the event, mind would venture the event, dishonoring our ablest Greek, a man the immortals' grace. Again, yet let's deliberate to make him now embrace affection to our general good, and bring his force to field. And bring his force to field. Bring his force to our general good, and bring his force to field, both which kind words and pleasing gifts both which field, both to field. Bring his force to field, both which kind bring his force to field, both which kind words and pleasing gifts must make his virtues yield, and pleasing gifts must make his virtues yield. Pleasing gifts must make his virtues yield. O Father, make his virtues yield. Gifts must make his virtues yield. Must make his virtues yield. O Father, answered the king, my wrongs thou answered the king, my wrongs thou tell'st me right. Mine own offense, mine own tongue grants. One must stand and fight for our whole army. Hold mine own tongue grants. One man grants. Mine own tongue grants. One man must stand and fight for our whole army. Him I wronged. Him Jove loves from his heart. He shows it in thus honoring him, who living thus apart, proves us but number, for his want makes all our weakness seen. Yet, after my confused offense, soothing my confused offense, after my confused offense, soothing my humorous spleen, I'll sweeten his effects again with presence infinite, which, to approve my firm intent, I'll openly recite. 7 sacred tripods, free from fire, 10 talents of fine gold, 20 bright cauldrons, 12 young horse, well shaped and well controlled, and